Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to IBM TV at the Olympics, California International Broadcast Media, along with Mark Lee. Of course, we got another day at the Olympics, and there's some new things that have taken place, some new events, some new news. And what do we have, Mark? What's on the agenda for today in terms of things that happen?
Well, it was really
Wait,
interesting.
just
I
a minute.
watched a very good match yesterday. I watched a match of the basketball. It was actually, a lot of times people think that teams are shoe-ins, and they probably are shoe-ins, meaning that a lot of times the USA will do wonderful in the basketball, and they definitely got tested by Spain. Spain had a player that was shooting lights out, and it definitely kept them into the game. But Kevin Durant and the rest of the fellows did manage to pull off the victory, and they will now play in the semifinals and then hopefully make it to the finals as well. But Spain has a very strong team, including some players that are made up of folks that have made it in the NBA, including the Gasol brothers, and I believe it was Rubio that was doing a lot of the scoring and everything this last game that I watched. But they will not even medal, even though they have a strong team. So that's one of the things that happens is depending on how the route goes, you may have a strong team and still not get a medal at all. But it does look like the U.S. was able to pull off the victory, and relatively comfortably, even though it was pretty much almost a tie or maybe a 2-point advantage by the time halftime rolled around. But then the USA team really started putting the medal down, and that was exciting to watch. So I did see that early in the morning because I was actually watching it on one of the other networks, and that was a great game to take place and watch. And then I saw, as I was telling you earlier, one of the track runs that was taking place, and the young lady that was from one of the European nations. Actually, like I said, it was one of those long races. I think it was the 5K or the 5,000, and like I said, they sat in the back and everything, and then had those legs at the end for the kick, and the kick they pretty much ran away from the rest of the competition because they just sat there. And actually, I want to say, and sometimes they were even toward the back of the pack, but they edged their way up and then passed. And as soon as they hit that kick, you just saw the stride going, and you could tell that nobody was going to be able to keep up with them, and they were able to have that victory. So definitely that was good to see. I did see that Simone Biles got the bronze medal. I think that her teammate got a silver or something along those lines. And then afterwards, she revealed that she's been going through a lot, whether that was things with the twisties and the whole issues around mental health and things along those lines. But she also has revealed that there was a tragedy in her family, and apparently she was letting folks know that an aunt, and I'm assuming that this was a favorite aunt, had also recently passed away. So she was dealing with a lot of things. So definitely, with all of the things going on in her life, that bronze is definitely something that she should be proud of, and all of that, and definitely adds to her legacy. Now, whether she'll make an attempt for the Paris Olympics or not, only time will tell. But we are curious to see whether she makes that attempt to come back in that sense or not, or what goes on in that race. And but one of the other things that people are.
Oh, wait a minute. I just see we have a volleyball player who's just arrived. Let's bring in Ada. So,
Yes, let's bring in Ada.
Amy,
Our
volleyball expert, who has been following the volleyball matches, I hope, because I actually did see some the other day.
Hey Ada, how are you doing? I'm glad that you came in and everything. I was actually going to talk about, to some degree, some of the other sports, including volleyball, because one of the things I've been watching has been the beach volleyball, and all of that. Have been really impressed, even though they're doing it in the middle of some very hot sun that's going on over there. So doing it in that kind of weather, I can only imagine how that would be. But I think we still have one American team that is left. I know that the favorites actually got ousted in the early state in a match with one of the Canadian players, and I actually watched that match, and there was a couple of controversial calls where they were saying that the ball was out, then it was in, then it was out again. So there was a little bit of controversy around that and everything. So as a volleyball player, and I know that was several days ago, what were your thoughts when you saw that? Because I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute. 1 minute y'all are saying it's out, then y'all are saying it's not, then it's in. Now it's back out again. And there was a lot of back and forth. So what was your take on that, Ada?
Oh my goodness. To be honest, it's volleyball. So you're going to have some tough calls, especially at this level when we're hitting the ball over 80 miles per hour in some cases, and especially like with the glare of the sand, the heat of the sand, and just like you have the up ref, you have the down ref, you have the line judge, and then you also have the camera. So it's kind of hard to mistake if the ball is in or out. If it touches the line, it's in. If it doesn't touch the line, it's out. But even with all these factors, like they can still get it wrong and get it up in the air. But we still have April Ross and April Kleinman who won against Germany today. And so they're going to be advancing into the semifinals where they'll play against the Swiss team tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And so that would be a great game to watch.
And I did see them in one of their matches as well. They were very impressive. They looked like a strong team, and I was impressed with their ability. And I would not be surprised if they do not get the gold medal. Like I said, it is a tough sport, volleyball, but definitely I would not be surprised if they don't get that medal. So I was quite pleased with what I saw from their competition. I did not see the match today. But I saw the match against the Cubans a couple of days ago and was quite impressed with their ability. And I'll probably watch the rematch or the reruns, I should say, and see how they do against the Germans, since a lot of this we're getting in later coverage because of the time difference and all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely. But it's good. I mean, and moving into indoor, I mean, well, the U.S., I don't know if you guys know, but the U.S. has had some up and downs. We've had our best hitter, Jordan Thompson, who I know personally, and I'm so sad that she's injured, had injury. She twisted her ankle, and she didn't play against some of their matches. Luckily, they were able to squeeze by. And there was also a setter, another Jordan, who fell down to injury, and hopefully will be back again for the semifinals. But in the quarterfinals right now, they're facing the Dominican Republic at 12 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm excited for that. And hopefully Jordan can get back into the game and is not injured. So that's USA indoor volleyball.
Yeah.
Sounds like some fascinating things. Hey, Nick, did you realize that there was a ban? Because, the Olympics is all about humans and everything. So there has been for years the fact that we couldn't have motorsports in the Olympics and things of that nature. But apparently the latest Olympic charter no longer includes an explicit ban on motorsports. So, we've added different sports. We've added skateboarding. We've added, apparently breakdancing will be coming our way and everything. But apparently if we look forward to like the 2024 and 2028 Olympics, there is the possibility that we might have the ability to have motorsports in there as well. So as one that is a legal person, but is also from Ada, one that is in the sports world, I was wondering what your thoughts are from both of you about us having motorsports kind of sports in there. Like I said, who knows? Maybe that'll lead to motorboat racing and things of that nature, because even the canoeing and other things is still human powered and all of that. Right. But there is the possibility that in the future we could have a motorsports in the Olympics, since that is no longer part of the charter. And we know that there are these Olympic charters that get our rules and all of that. So what is your thought about us adding motorsports? Because some of those folks, they have a lot of athletic skills to drive and maneuver those cars around and everything, but it's not the same thing as one-on-one human competition. But I don't know, will we be building tracks in the whatever countries we go to, or how we would handle it? But it would be interesting to see. But what's your thoughts, Nick?
I'm not a fan. I mean, the thing is, there are certain things that should be out of the Olympics. I mean, I like enjoying them outside the Olympics. Motorsports is one. Esports is another. I mean, you can make arguments, but I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. I'm more of a traditionalist. I don't mind cheerleading going in because I've seen that, and there's no motor sports involved. It is, but it's a very highly competitive sport if you watch it. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have a problem with breakdancing, again. But the minute you start saying, well, let's bring in airplanes or boats, or, they have their place, but not in the Olympics, Mark. Okay?
I hear you. What are your thoughts, Ada? Can you see motorsports or other things getting in there, or are you kind of like with Nick?
I like
you just want to stick with the humans and all of that?
I think I'm more liberal. I'm more 50-50 because I feel like these things are called sports for a reason. You have to have skill. You have to have dexterity. You have to have physicality to even participate in them, even though you're in a car or on a bike or whatever. I mean, even in these new 2020 Olympics, we've seen the introduction of baseball, softball, karate, skateboarding, climbing, surfing. So I mean, there's room for improvement. There's room to add more sports, and I mean, it would be entertaining. It would be entertaining.
Yeah. But the thing is, the real problem when you're starting to add a lot of these other sports, you're detracting from some that need more love, like volleyball. So I'm going to support the volleyball community. When you add, let's say, a NASCAR event, you're starting detracting people away from watching volleyball as they're watching a NASCAR event that really doesn't belong in the Olympics, in my opinion. You know, it belongs somewhere else. Same with an esports. You can spend a lot of time watching esports.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but they don't belong in the Olympics. So the Olympics, there are certain things that I'm grateful they're expanding into. Like I said, I don't mind seeing cheerleading in, but there's certain things that I think really belong elsewhere, and that would be like NASCAR. I just don't see it really being a Olympic sport. And even chess, I'm ambiguous about that. I mean, chess has its own Olympiad. It had it for years. The real problem is that it's not really a great spectator sport, you know. And so the thing is, does it really belong in the Olympics? Oddly enough, it's the chess players who don't want to go take it to the Olympics because they don't like the rules that exist. The Olympics said, hey, we'll bring you guys in. And they go, no, we're not interested. And they have their own Olympiad. So, you know, which is a great event. They have hundreds, literally 200 countries compete in the Olympiads every year. And usually Klamyka, Russia somewhere. I mean, really in the middle of Russia, they built a whole chess city. It's a weird thing. It would be very interesting because it introduced the world, the weirdness of this group. But again, does it really belong? I don't know, you know, and I would tend to doubt it at this point in time. But volleyball, I think, is great. I'm glad you play it, Ada, and I think that's good. Swimming, you know, you wanted to see it swimming. Shaq was going to come on. Maybe he won't be here if we're lucky.
Maybe he'll show up. Maybe some of the other people show up. I might send him a note and everything. One of the things, and I'd love to hear Ada's thoughts about this, is that I was reading an article in the BBC where they were talking about, and I know we're kind of one of the unofficial channels as well within the Olympics, but apparently a very popular social platform, and I'm guessing it's because a lot of the athletes have this channel, has become the unofficial behind-the-scenes Olympic channel. So apparently TikTok has become the unofficial behind-the-scenes Olympic channel. So I was just wondering, what are your thoughts about this? And have you been seeing a lot of the athletes posting their TikTok or Instagrams comments on the channel and everything? Because I know that I would be interested to see that kind of like their reactions after the Olympics and all of that. I remember one of the track runners, you literally could hear them after their race kind of giving that believe in yourself kind of mantra that was something that their parents or some of their fans had installed in them. And I could even see in that being a very interesting TikTok kind of thing going on. But just as an athlete yourself, I was wondering, are you seeing more of the athletes sharing their stories as they are competing via social media, whether that's TikTok, whether that's Instagram, or whatever other platforms they might be using?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, especially now in this day and age, a lot of athletes utilize social media to not only express themselves, but also to showcase their sport. And like TikToks that are popular right now, there was a trending TikTok of the husband of one of the track participants from Colombia. Her husband is actually in the NFL, and him cheering her on. That was a really popular TikTok. He like jumped out of his seat. He was watching it with his whole team. He was crying. Like it was really emotional. And then also the shot putter for the USA, She-Hulk, as she goes by on TikTok, has been posting not only just her sport, but funny side content about like the beds in the Olympic City, or like how short the shorts are in track and how she doesn't like it. So it's fun. And I think the athletes are utilizing it, not just to get their name out there, but also to showcase doing the sport that they love.
Oh, no doubt about that. Have you got a TikTok channel, Nick? I have one, but I don't know that I actually use it as much as I use Instagram and some of the other mediums that are out there. So we might need to get a TikTok channel for IBM TV and everything else.
TikTok channel. We'll have to talk to our TikTok tech people, the TikTok techers, and see what this this TikTok is all about. But no, I don't believe we broadcast through TikTok right now. We broadcast predominantly through Facebook and YouTube, LinkedIn, and other social media sites like Twitter, Instagram. But
not TikTok as of yet. Hey, Ada, just really quickly at everything. One of the things I've been fascinated by, and I think you might be finding it interesting as well, is the fact that, and I don't know if we've ever had this before, but there are at least three sports I know in track, and it was in swimming and in the triathletes, where we are seeing these mixed gender competitions. So I was wondering your thoughts about that, and it seems to be a new thing as we're trying to balance the gender equality within the Olympics. So definitely, I've been really impressed when I've seen the medleys going on, as I think they're called mixed medleys and all of that. But I just wondering, as a volleyball player, do you think that we'll see that even in that sense, where we'll see both men and women competing together in some form or fashion, or maybe even in basketball, but definitely in some of the more individual sports like track and like definitely swimming, we've seen that. But I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think the sports that it's in a sense easier to integrate men and women, like the relays and for track and for swim is where we've seen it. But I mean, if we're trying to integrate something for like volleyball, we also have to go into place like the men's net is about a foot higher than the women's net. Men's hit, we hit maybe 70 miles per hour on average. Men's hit maybe 100 miles per hour on average. And it's little things like that. It's not that women cannot compete at the men's level, or it's not even that men can't compete at a women's level. It's just that the little details that do separate the sports are going to come into play. For example, like for basketball, or if you like boxing, wrestling, judo, karate, like so many other sports, like they're separated.
It'd be interesting.
I honestly don't know. Like I don't personally have an opinion on it, but I know that it would be more complicated than the mixed things that we've already seen. And I mean, talking about that, we've seen transgender athletes compete. Like Canada whooped the United States, and they have a transgender athlete actually from Duke University, Quinn, and they are doing great. They're doing amazing.
They whooped us in what?
Pardon? In soccer.
In soccer, really? Okay.
In soccer, yeah, they definitely destroyed us in soccer, and that's why I think we're. If we get a medal, it'll be the bronze. It won't be the gold that we're used to and things of that nature. But definitely they whooped us in that. I do want to give a shout out to another sport that does not, as Nick likes to say, get the kind of love that it should be getting, and that is the discus throw. And that even comes back to social media, because I did watch the match where Valerie Allman won in the discus throw, was very impressive in it. And then afterwards, she was also very emotional, as some of the media and some of the press were talking to her about the victory. And they, of course, did that common coverage, because a lot of the families can't go to the Olympics. So they're having watch parties, and even the dog got involved in the watch party as well. So it's really cute seeing her dog that has a great name and everything. I'm going to probably get myself and maybe the network in trouble, but hey, she calls the dog this name, but apparently the dog's name is Sugar Butt. So Sugar Butt is apparently the dog's name and everything. And she gave it a shout out in there. So I've now given it a shout out as well. But it was great just seeing the dog and her having that bonding moment along with the family and these watch parties. So as an athlete, if you were there, how much importance would the watch parties be to you? Because it really seems to be impacting the athletes a lot, because they can't have that support that they usually would have. And that's one of the things that I've really been watching is these empty stands, and they're not as full as they usually would be. So now we've got these watch parties that help and everything. So that was something that I watched during the Olympics, and I was curious of Ada's thoughts about that. And in a separate context, but another question I had for her is, can we stop? And there's a gentleman who I think has North Carolina ties, and I think he's like 9th or 10th in the competition. But can we stop the Chinese in diving? Because I watched some of the diving early this morning, and I'm sitting there going like, every time they dived, the scores were like 9s and 10s, and the closest competitor was somebody from Great Britain, and our competitor was way down. Started at 3rd, and I think dropped down to like 10th by the time we actually got to the stand. And so, do you see us ever being able to compete in diving, or do they just have a lock over there in China in that sport?
I mean, to answer the diving question, I mean, China has a lock on diving. In just diving, they have 8 medals total, with 5 gold medals, 3 silver, and 0 bronze. Second, you were right, comes in Great Britain with 1 gold and 1 bronze. And third, sadly, is the United States with 2 silvers and 1 bronze in diving. Yeah, they have a lock on it. Sometimes we're coming in 10th place. And today we had the 3 meter springboard where we came in 10th in both, and China came in first. And so it's crazy. They're doing really well. Hopefully we can catch up. But I mean, the medals don't lie. And it doesn't look like they're lying. But to also answer your other question about the Zooms or the videos from family, the live videos from family at home, I think a lot of the athletes, especially these Olympics, are getting more emotional because it is a bittersweet moment. You're winning, you're doing your thing, you're excelling, you don't have your parents there, but you can see them through the screen. And I think it's this harks back to the same feeling that we had in the beginning of the pandemic, where we saw our family members and we're so thankful that we could see our family members, that they're okay, that they're watching us, that they're supporting us, but we still miss that physical touch. We still miss that they're not here with us physically. And I think that it just brings a lot of these athletes to tears, and it's sad. It's bittersweet. It's very bittersweet.
Wow. Okay. Well, the thing is, when I get back from my trip, I'll go watch you play volleyball, Ada.
It's
since
free.
you're right across the street, sort of at Duke.
Free is a good thing, so we like free. I might go over there and watch one of the matches as well, because we definitely love free when we can get free and everything. Ada, you actually alluded to it, but I know we've been trying to catch on and all of that and things along those lines. By the way, Michelle was saying that she was trying to hop on and apparently missed us, so I'm going to see if I can find her and hopefully she can pop on now, because she was saying that she tried to reach us, and that is our rhythm gymnast, and also I'm letting her know that we're still going on. But if you could tell us about how we're doing. I know we're behind in gold and all of that, but I was just wondering if you could talk about how we're doing, and then we have a shot at catching up in the gold and all of that, because I'm sitting there going like, do we even have a shot at catching folks?
Oh, he disappeared. He wanted to know. Well, he's probably trying to get a hold of one of our guests. We have a couple of special guests, and if you press the wrong button, you go out, poof, like that. Ada, but his question related to gold. In other words, the U.S. likes to bring home the gold. In other words, always bring home the medals. Okay, you want to bring home medals. And last time I checked, we were tied with China, which was pretty interesting. And I don't know where we sit right now, because this is an ongoing event, and so I'm not really sure. But in the future, I don't think we're going to see gold, because things change in this world. I think the new first place you're going to receive, you're going to start getting Bitcoin will be for first place, and then second place will be gold. Mark, you disappeared for a minute there. I thought maybe you were trying to get a hold of our guest and hit the wrong button.
Yeah, apparently. So I'm going to try to go back to getting the guests and seeing if they're able to come our rhythm gymnast. So maybe I hit the wrong button, or maybe the computer decided to have technology issues as well. But I am sending them a note right now and see if they're on, and hopefully they will come back and let us know that they are able to pop on and share their wisdom, because they were in the Olympics as a Canadian representative and things along those lines. So,
she was the lady from Calgary who won gold in the synchronized swimming.
Yes, right? That's the one.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. Well, it'd be good to see her if she can get on the network. That would be pretty cool. But the thing is, Mark, what I was thinking of, because right now we're looking at gold to be number one, but as we know, the new generation that moves up, we're going to see the number one. You're going to win Bitcoin, so you're not going to get gold anymore. You're going to get a Bitcoin, which, the Bitcoin in and of itself is worth like $30,000 to $60,000. I mean, if you are able to get a Bitcoin, you'll be better off. And then, as we discussed earlier, the gold is made of silver here anyway. So, getting a Bitcoin would not be a bad thing for the athletes. But I really do enjoy seeing athletes compete in the non-traditional parts that are on media. In other words, like the volleyball, the track, the swimming. They just don't get enough love throughout the year. And so having those sports on there is really good. I'm mixed emotions with basketball and softball and baseball, because these people make a lot of money anyway in their sports. Do they really need what? Softball's okay. You're right. Softball's okay. Yeah. But American baseball, and basketball, those people do really well anyway, financially in their sports. And so having them play to a national audience, or an international audience in this case, I'm not sure if that's really great for the sport because it detracts, again, when you have that, it detracts away from, the other sports that don't get a lot of love. And the same thing with soccer. I mean, it gets a lot of love worldwide. And so having it as an Olympic sport, I have some mixed feelings about that, because why don't we support some of the minor sports that are out
No,
there?
we definitely need to support some of the minor sports. I agree with you on that. But even some of the sports that get a lot of love, like, golf is in the Olympics
Yeah,
as
golf.
well. And of course,
Yeah.
that's a major sport that makes a lot of money and everything. The one thing that I will say that is good that we see within the Olympics, and it's part of the reason that I like the Olympics, is that it also gives chances for people to shine and represent not just the sport, but represent the country. So, I said, even though there are NBA and the WNBA players that are in these different high interest and high money sports and everything, a lot of times they are not necessarily representing the United States. So like I said, I mentioned that Spain had a lot of players that are representing their country and they're representing their flag. And the same thing can be said for some of the other ones that we might be facing as well. Like I think that Argentina and some of the others have basketball players that are making their money in the NBA because unfortunately their own countries don't necessarily pay the same kind of money as the NBA does. So they're, of course, going to come to America to make their money in terms of their financing, but then they don't give them necessarily the love of that sport in their representative country. But a lot of these folks also have their own leagues in their country. And don't get me wrong, they can pay pretty decently. They just don't pay as decently as the NBA. And that's why some of our lesser known players that have gone to some of our HBCUs and some of our other colleges that did not get picked up by the NBA or by the NFL will still go to other places to play their sport. They will go overseas and make their money overseas in those leagues and things along those lines. I know that that's the case in soccer, where people will definitely, that's a very small amount of people that are in the professional levels of soccer here in America. It's not as big as, say, the NFL and the NBA, but they will go overseas and make a lot of money in that regards. And then some of the folks that couldn't make it in the NBA will then go over to, say, Spain or Germany or some of the other countries that have professional teams, but they're paying good wages, but they're not paying NBA wages.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess that's a subject of another World Edition talk, is whether or not we should have golf and tennis in the Olympics, because it's played internationally anyway. So, and they have their own channels, even their own TV channels. And the discus throw doesn't. And so the discus throw needs more love. Speaking of a person who needs love, what about Belarus? Somebody bailed out on Belarus. He said, I want out, or she said, I want out.
She said, I want out. I think that still is going on. Folks are still trying to figure out whether they might be facing consequences, because they are going back to a country that in a lot of ways is probably considered repressive. So they are definitely worried about what their future will look like if they are forced back to Belarus. So definitely she is looking at trying to stay in Japan, or who knows, maybe she'll go to one of the other Western nations as well. But yes, there is some concern going on in that regard as well. So definitely, I know that is something that folks are definitely looking at. And apparently the IOC has given Belarus a deadline to explain why the sprinter has refused to go home. So definitely the IOC apparently is getting involved in this as well. And definitely, the IOC needs to figure out a couple of their rules going on and a couple of things. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out why they won't allow the soul cap, which I mentioned last time as well, which is apparently a swimming cap that will protect people that are of African American and other minority descents that might have cornrows and other things, but they're trying to claim that it might give folks an unfair advantage, even though I have not seen any proof of this, and therefore it seems to me that it should be allowed. But I was wondering if Ada had been following that story at all, and if she thought had any comments on it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, the Afro Cap, there was some other stuff. That the Afro Cap also was on top of the news about Sha'Carri Richardson. It was on top of the news about two track players from countries in Africa not being able to participate because of natural high testosterone levels. So I mean, the Olympic Committee has been facing a lot of heat, especially. I mean, they've made their stance that they're not going to be political, but they've made a little bit of political choices, but they've made their stance that they're not going to be political. They're not trying to ruffle any feathers when it comes to taking a stance on social issues. And so, I mean, this was a problem that we faced at the beginning of the Olympics and that people are still going to be talking about. And in some ways, we are not distracted, but our heads are turned away from that issue with the actual athletics going on. But yeah, these were issues that way before the Olympics started that people had problems with. And harking back to what you said before, your question before you disappeared on us, I just want to hark back to what Mr. Nick was saying as well. Our medal tally, we have China in the lead with 69 medals in total, with 32 golds. Oof, imagine. 21 silvers and 3 bronzes, and those are in weightlifting where they have 7 golds, diving where they have 5 golds, and shooting where they have 4. The U.S. is coming in second. We actually have more medals. We have 73 medals, but we only have 24 golds, 28 silvers, and 21 bronzes. And that is coming in sports like swimming, where we are dominant with 11 golds, shooting, and in track and field, or called athletics. And third, we have the home country of Japan, the hosting country, with 36 medals, 19 golds, 6 silvers, and 3 bronzes. And that comes into a traditional sport in Japan, judo, where they have 9 gold medals, and gymnastics and swimming, where they have 2 apiece in both. And then coming in fourth is Australia and Russia, or the Russian Olympic Committee.
The ROC.
It's also been great seeing countries that have never gotten gold or getting them in things that they had not had before getting golds as well. So I know that like Venezuela has gotten some gold love. Definitely the Philippines has gotten some gold love, and even in some sports that we don't see getting a lot of recognition. Even though one of these sports that doesn't get recognition is a sport that folks play as kids all the time, and that's the sport of badminton. So like I said, we don't even think about badminton unless we've got young people, or unless there are young people involved in our life and they want to have a badminton set or play badminton. But in other parts of the globe, it is very much of a sport that gets a lot of love and gets a lot of even television time and other kinds of time that we don't see here in the United States. So it's great seeing these sports, as Nick was alluding to, getting love, and even some of these countries getting love that haven't had it in the past. So definitely glad to see them getting honored. And every time I see a new athlete that is representing the country getting a gold that country hasn't had before, or a country even getting their first gold, it actually adds to kind of the Olympic spirit in my mind. But I was wondering what Ada and you think about that as we get ready to head down to the wind down.
Badminton. Okay, well, I mean, badminton, I mean, that's a good sport. I'm glad. I mean, they have table tennis, badminton. Again, a lot of those sports just don't get any love. And there's going to be some new sports. They play pickleball. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Shuffleboard, never saw that. I mean, there's some minor sports out there that get very little love and attention. Cornhole, which you don't see that very often. So archery, I mean, the thing is, and again, you don't see that very often. And I think this is where the Olympics can excel, is by taking these minor sports and showing them to the world. And see, this is where I'm having a real problem, Mark, as you're bringing the major sports in, like golf, tennis, baseball, soccer. You're starting to move away from these sports that just don't get a lot of love and attention throughout the year, and somewhere along the line, hopefully the Olympic Committee will start seeing that and move toward giving
it's about one of your favorite words, Nick. It's about rating. So basketball and tennis and the rest of those, they will be in there for the duration, I think. So I don't think that we're ever going to see them not getting there. Ever since the Dream Team came up with the idea of bringing basketball in, I'm just glad that other teams have put together their own version of their Dream Team. So at least it's competitive Dream Teams, but I definitely think that we're going to be there for a while. But it is also exciting when you see people that are in a country that is not known for that sport winning as well. So even if you want to talk about badminton, when we think of badminton, we usually think of the Asian countries as being the dominant forces, like China, like Chinese Taipei, and like Indonesia. You don't think about Denmark, but Denmark did win a gold. They won a gold in badminton. So it's great to see people like that are in countries that sport isn't known for also winning. So it's great to see people picking up various sports, including sports that may not be native to their land, and then you go and win a gold, because Denmark does have at least one gold that they got in badminton. And that I'm sure that when they were putting together their team, they were probably not even thinking that they had that strong of a shot of getting a gold medal, but they pulled it off and they got a gold in a sport outside of an area that they're known for having that kind of success in that sport.
Yeah. Right. Well, we are past the hour. Should we be winding down, Mr. Mark?
That sounds good to me. Like I said, I've not heard back from Michelle, but we'll reach out to her again. And there might have been some time confusions and things along those lines. But I do know that she did write me back, and that she had said that she had jumped on the link that I had sent out earlier, which I believe was this same link. I'm just going to double check that and go back and make sure that I sent her the right link, and it was the right link. But she did say that she had jumped on early, so I'm wondering if she might have jumped on at closer to 1:30 or 1 o'clock our time, as opposed to 2 o'clock. So we might have to get folks straight as to the time difference between the East and where she is in Canada. So we'll try to clarify that, and hopefully she can jump on Wednesday or Thursday. But she has expressed interest in popping in and talking about a sport that also doesn't get a lot of love, because I don't know how many people are into synchronized swimming.
Synchronized swimming, right. Yeah. That was the sport she won the gold medal in. I thought it was pretty interesting. Hopefully we'll be able to see her tomorrow. But in the meantime, what we should do is wrap up today, and then tomorrow we're going to be on again at 2 o'clock, which is a different time. But you can thank the monsoons in India for moving us to the 2 o'clock. Oh, and also Ada, that she can actually make it.
We like Ada being here, and we love her talking about volleyball. You know, I've already claimed. You don't know this, Nick, but I've already claimed. So one, me and Nick, I'm putting it right here on IBM TV. Ada, we're taking you as our client, so we're going to be your agent, and we're going to get you on the soccer team for 2024 or 2028. Are you good with that?
The soccer team.
Yeah, the volleyball team. I said soccer.
Volleyball team.
Well,
I think she can do soccer too, and I think she can play basketball.
I mean, I was on the USA volleyball team for the under-21. I went to Norseca, and where we won the gold, the qualifiers for the USA for the Olympic under-21. We won the gold there, and that was an amazing time. I had an amazing time. It was great. But I might go back to the Olympics representing Nigeria. Who knows? Nick won't like it.
Oh no, I'll be fine. I'll root for Nigeria if you make the Olympics.
Nigeria's not done too bad even in some of the track competitions, because I've seen some of the Nigerians that have done quite well in some of the track races as well, and definitely. Speaking of that, I did want to mention one other thing that I was surprised by as we go out the door and everything, which is there was a country that was dominating an event, and they stopped dominating that event because they got beat. And that was in one of the long races, and I forget which one it was, but Kenya had like this long streak of victories, and that streak went down last night. So they were actually chased by Ethiopia, and I want to say it was somebody from one of the European nations that actually won that race and everything. But definitely it was a country that had been dominant for almost a decade, but that dominance ended and they finished in third place. They did not even get the silver. They got the bronze instead. So we are seeing even shifts in power, even in sports that might be popular in one nation or another. So that can also be very difficult, because a lot of times those countries have such pride in being in the top place that you have to wonder what happens when they fall down to second or third, or in some cases not even qualifying place, because they're so used to winning in that competition, and then they turn around and they don't win. I think we're even seeing that in that sport that Nick wants to get rid of, because like I said, we lost early in an early round to France, and there's no guarantee that we're going to get the gold. Like I said, we've got some great players, but there are some other great players on the other side of the court as well. So don't think that the basketball gold is a lock. Like I said, I hope that we win that gold, but I also thought that we were locked in women's soccer, and we saw what happened there. We did not get the gold at all. So we have to be very careful, even in those popular sports where we think we're a lock, because those other countries, they play sports as well, and they're very good at it.
They're a bit pesky. What can you do? So anyway, well, tomorrow I guess we'll be back again at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll see everybody on the IBM TV network, as IBM TV is at the Olympics. And hopefully we'll have some gold medalists that'll be on the show tomorrow. But we'll know more tomorrow. All right. We'll see you then. All right. Take care.
See you then.
Bye-bye.